Here we're going to look at example 2, multiplying polynomials. Actually, underline this here. So what we want to do is we want to multiply these polynomials. And we have 2m plus 5 times 3m squared minus 4m plus 2. Now you've probably seen something similar to this before, where you would really just distribute. All right, so you'd have to keep distributing all these terms in. But I'm going to show a slightly different method. I'm going to use a Punnett square, which you may be familiar with from a biology class. And this has 2 terms, and this one has 3 terms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a box here that has 2 by 3. And I'm going to take those first 2 terms, the 2m plus 5, write those on the outside here, and then 3m squared minus 4m, and then a positive 2. You can write plus 2 if you want, and plus 5 if you want here, but I'm not going to write those. I'm just going to know that they're positive. So to fill in each each box from the chart, we would take each of these terms and multiply them together. So we would do 3m squared times 2m. 3 times 2 would give us 6. And this is where we have to be careful. We're going to have m, but when we multiply the bases, we add the exponents. So this is going to become 6m cubed. And then we just continue that process to fill everything else in. So we do 2m times negative 4m. So we'd have negative 8. Again, the exponents are 1s. We want to add those. So since you're multiplying the bases, you add the exponents. And now we want to do 2m times 2. So that's going to be 4m. And now we do the same thing for the next row. 3 times 5, this would be 15m squared. 5 times negative 4 would be negative 20m. And 5 times 2 would be 10. From there, you just look for like terms. So I have these 2 match up, and these 2 match up. The other 2 are not like terms, so they'll just be able to drop down. So I'll take that 6m cubed, bring that right down. 15 minus 8 is going to be a positive 7m squared. Negative 20 plus 4 is going to be negative 16m. And then that plus 10 comes down. I don't know why that m is not cooperating. There we go. And that would be our answer when we multiply these polynomials. All right, so you can use it's again called the Punnett square method. I know it's not a square, but that's the method, Punnett, P-U-N-N-E-T. It's just an extra option that you can use instead of using just distribution. Those of you that like to learn visually and kind of see things organized in a much neater manner, that method is going to work for you. All right, moving on to part B. In part B, we now have 3 polynomials. So what we want to do is you're going to combine them or multiply them 2 at a time. So at first, I'm just going to look to these 2. You could use the Punnett square method for this. You would just have to use the Punnett square method twice, but it's up to you. For this one, I'm not going to use the Punnett square, just so we can see both methods. So I'm going to use my FOIL method or my distribution method. mn times mn, be careful here. So all these exponents are 1s. So this is going to become m squared, n squared. And then mn times negative 2 would be negative 2mn. 1 times mn is just going to be 1mn. And positive 1 times negative 2 would be negative 2. Be sure to bring that third polynomial term down. Before you go into another series of distribution, make sure you combine any like terms. So m squared, n squared. I'm going to combine these 2 terms here to get negative 1mn minus 2 times mn plus 4. don't know what's going on with my marker today. Yeah, from here, we're going to distribute again. You do have that choice. You can use the Punnett square method at any point. So if you want to decide now, I don't really want to do 3 by 2 and write everything out horizontally, use the Punnett square method. All right, good. For this one, I'm going to stick with our distribution method. So this is going to get distributed. So m squared n squared times mn is going to be m cubed n cubed. So we're adding up our exponents. And then 4m squared n squared. Next, I'm going to distribute this minus 1mn. So we're going to be careful with our exponents. So it's going to be a negative 1m squared n squared, and then minus 4mn. And let's use green here. So we're going to take that negative 2 and distribute. So we get negative 2mn minus 8. Now you can see why using the Punnett square method is a little bit neater. It's much easier to organize your terms rather than just having them listed out. But whatever method works for you, stick with that method. Now I need to look for like terms. We're just going to add or subtract those like terms. The m cubed n cubed, there's nothing similar to that. So let's just bring that down. This 4m squared n squared matches up with this minus 1m squared n squared. So let's combine those. So it'd be plus 3m squared n squared. Remember, when adding or subtracting, we are not changing the exponents. Next, what colors are we using? Minus 4mn and the minus 2mn would be combined. Minus 4 minus 2 would be negative 6. Be careful that you're following the right operation. And then a minus 8 would drop down. Check that it's in standard form, which in this case it is. It's in decreasing order by exponent. And that's it. So again, you have the option of using a Punnett square method or the distribution method. They're the same thing. You're multiplying. It's really just how you organize it. The Punnett square is going to give you a nice chart where you can pretty clearly see things. The distribution method, depending on the problem, if you have a lot of terms, things can kind of start getting mixed up. So for organizational purposes, I would recommend Punnett square. But again, whatever method you prefer and works better for you, try to stick with that method.